Hello and welcome, and we start off straight away this morning with breaking news that's coming in. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Australia yesterday in the afternoon itself, flying from Papua New Guinea, where he had co-hosted the FIPIC 3 summit along with his Papua New Guinea counterpart. And joining me now is on the phone. Joining me now is our guest in the studio. A very warm welcome to you, sir, for joining us. The Prime Minister is in Sydney. It's been a power-packed Asia-Pacific tour for PM Modi so far, and a very successful G7 summit followed by the FIPIC 3 summit in Papua New Guinea. I'm speaking to Salvatore Babones,
Yes.
who is joining me live from Sydney. But when we look at the last leg, it's the final leg of the Prime Minister's Asia-Pacific tour here. He flew into Australia yesterday. How do you view, what would be India's expectations? What can we expect from this? Because, you know, the Quad summit has already concluded. It was cancelled as it was supposed to be held because President Joe Biden would not be attending. Yet it's a very power-packed agenda for PM Modi. So what can India expect? What are the expectations?
There's a difference between what India can expect and what India can hope for. The expectation is that there will be a friendly visit. Narendra Modi will make a big appearance in front of 20,000 very excited Indian members of the Indian diaspora at a stadium here in Sydney. Now, I want to be clear that stadium reception has not been organized by the Australian government. It's been organized by the diaspora right here in Australia. So that's certainly going to happen. And Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is going to attend that. And from the Australian side, this is very much a political exercise for Mr. Albanese, who wants to be seen as supporting an important electoral voting bloc, especially in New South Wales and Victoria, Australia's two largest states, which is the Indian diaspora community. Now, what India can hope for from this, and Mr. Modi actually telegraphed in an interview with the Australian newspaper, the largest national newspaper in Australia, is that there will be closer bilateral security cooperation between Australia and India. Up till now, security cooperation between Australia and India has largely been conducted within a Quad framework underneath the American security umbrella, which is to say it's always been a trilateral or quadrilateral relationship. Yet Australia and India are Indian Ocean neighbors, looking right across the ocean at each other, and they have a joint responsibility for maritime security in the Indian Ocean. So Mr. Modi himself said that he'll be looking for some kind of bilateral defense cooperation. My instinct is that will take the form of maritime cooperation. We'll see if Anthony Albanese gives it to him.
And so when we, it's being seen in India, you know, the Prime Minister's visit, it's being seen as an, a further push to assert India's role in the Indo-Pacific in the face of growing Chinese influence. Would you like to comment on that?
It's certainly not India trying to exert a broader influence in the region. If anything, it's India trying to maintain the principle of national sovereignty against an expansive China, that China is trying to push itself out into the region. So while India's relations with countries, for instance, Prime Minister Modi was just in New Guinea, India's relations with the small island states of the Pacific Ocean, with New Guinea, with other countries in the region have been primarily driven by peaceful economic and friendly cooperation. China's interests have been very much defense-oriented. So it's China that wants to build a base in Papua New Guinea, an actual, we debate whether it's a naval base or not, but a militarized port in Papua New Guinea, whereas India is coming and offering simply regional cooperation, development cooperation. And I think that's very much appreciated in the region. Look, we have to realize that today India stands alone against an aggressive China, very much the same way that the United Kingdom stood alone in 1941 against Hitler and the Nazis and totalitarian fascism. The rest of the countries in the region have mostly been trying to mollify China. And if we look at even the Quad countries, the United States under Joe Biden has downgraded the Quad from a maritime security cooperation down to a coronavirus and global warming cooperative arrangement. Anthony Albanese here in Australia has tried to pull back from the aggressive stance against China of his predecessor, Scott Morrison, and is now trying to seek, or at least mollify China, to seek removal of China's trade sanctions on Australia. Japan's new Prime Minister, Kishida, is not taking the same kind of aggressive stance as his predecessors, particularly the late Shinzo Abe. So it really is now India standing alone against Chinese aggression in the region, and I think we all wish India the best for that.